Such a dork. Good morning and welcome to the Camera Life podcast. This is episode 29. No, 28. I'm getting them mixed up with the dates. The 29th of August here in Victoria, Australia. It's episode 28 of the Camera Life podcast. Welcome to the show. Proudly brought to you by Lucky Camera Straps from Bendigo, Australia. If you are new to the show or if you're watching along, don't forget to check out our back catalogue on YouTube on either the Camera Life, we're on the Camera Life YouTube channel. And we're also live on Apple, Spotify and Amazon audio podcasts if you want to listen along while you're doing your business.
Well, not live, but
sorry,
afterwards.
Not live. It will be.
Tomorrow.
It will be there. Yeah. Thanks, Justin. Last week we had a wonderful chat with Matt Cromie, who is a photographer, a photography educator, and one of the directors of the Bright Festival of Photography. If you're watching that episode, you got to see Justin act pretty much exactly like the little boy who won the golden ticket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory while he booked his BFOP ticket live on the show.
I'm going.
He's going. He might not have anywhere to sleep, but he's going.
I'll get a van. I'll sleep in the van.
Oh, he does. Yeah. Please be sure to check out our past live shows. But also, Justin's been posting a daily video with his Straight Out of Camera challenge. How's that going for you, Justin?
Look, it's going good. It's going great, actually. But the last couple of videos have been distracted a bit because to start with, I was really focused on trying to push myself creatively straight out of the camera, find interesting things in daily life around town, which is not the sort of photography I'd usually do. But the last few days, I got my new Canon R5 Mark II. So the last few days have been videos sort of focused around giving that a test. And those videos are going crazy. People are loving them, which is fun because nice. I'm not sort of reviewing the camera. I'm literally just being like, all right, let's test out the eye tracking autofocus, and they're just with me while I give it a test out and compare it to the old one and stuff. And videos are going really well, so loving it.
That's great. I'll be sure to check those out, guys.
Yeah, lots of great support in the comments. So thank you, guys.
Lovely. And we're joined today by a mate of mine. Yes, another Fuji shooter, Shane Henderson, who is a heavy metal concert photographer. He's from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia as well. Welcome to the show, Shane.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
That's great to have you.
Awesome.
You might have noticed the different intro music. That was Justin's effort at finding something heavier than the usual kind of intro music that we play.
I think we're going to keep it. I like it.
Yeah, all right.
It's bringing me back to the old days.
Oh.
Good choice.
What was music for you in the old days? What were the?
For me, I played I played in a heavy band. I don't know the only band that we played with. My claim to fame, we opened up for a band that I'm sure Shane's probably heard of. He might have even photographed them. Have you heard of Parkway Drive, Shane?
Yes, I have.
You have.
Yes, I've photographed them from an amateur point of view. Yeah.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
so
just from the crowd. Yeah.
We
nice.
brought them to Bendigo. So we ran a gig back in the day before they were mega massive, and brought them to Bendigo. They were the headline act on a gig we organised. And of course, as you do, when you organise the gig, you make yourselves the opening act because otherwise you're never going to get a chance to play with a band like that. And we did. So yeah,
that's a good claim to fame. Yeah,
it's a great claim to fame. Now. Yep.
What did you play, Justin?
Play guitar.
Nice.
Yep.
So, wow, there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Go.
Yeah,
I think for me, I remember I had some friends who were into heavy metal. Well, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Metallica. Listened to a lot of that in my teenage years. Mm-hmm. And this was back in the days when, I don't know if they still wear denim jackets with the big patches sewn on the back.
Much as if you go to an Iron Maiden concert or the older bands, the fans are covered in them. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say it kind of went out and then probably came back in a little bit again. You know.
Yeah. It's more popular in the European shows. I found when I was living there, going to gigs. I don't think it ever went away there.
Yep. So yeah, I was a bit of a semi-metal head for a little while, until I found Pink Floyd, and then it was all over.
Nothing wrong with Pink Floyd.
I was going to say they go well together, Greg.
They kind of do, but I kind of transitioned as I discovered new and interesting ways to view the world. So Shane, you're a heavy. Yeah, my children are probably watching. You're a heavy metal concept photographer. We want to hear about your story, but before we get into the photography side of things, tell us about your passion for music and heavy metal music.
I pretty much started from 11 or 12 years old. I think I've told you before. I saw this cassette in my local music store, and it had like a zombie wielding an axe, and it turned out to be an Iron Maiden album. I bought it purely because I thought the cover was cool, and pretty much fell in love with the music. And they're still my favourite band to this day. I don't know if that's because they were the first band I discovered or not, and it just led on to, discovering all the other music out there.
Okay. And for the kids listening along at home, a cassette was the first form of media, musical media that we enjoyed. Our generation has really had it tough because we started off with cassettes, and then we had to transition to vinyl, then to cassettes, then to CDs, and then we had to get rid of all of that stuff and go digital, whereas current generation have just gone straight to digital. So cassettes were a little plastic thing with a tape that ran through it. Google it.
I think it was probably 1988 when I bought that, so it's quite a while ago. Yeah.
Somewhere in there was, I think it was called a mini disc player. Can't remember. Sony had a couple of swings at new media in that cassette to CD transition.
I have one in my storage there somewhere.
Nice.
So
they didn't do so well.
They came out. Yeah, they came out at the same time as MP3s, kind of.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, who's going to go into a shop and download MP3s to his memory stick to take home? That's how I thought it would work.
Yeah.
So I went down the mini disc route, and it didn't last too long. Then the internet.
It was big in Japan
at the same time.
Yeah,
that's where
everything's big in Japan.
Yeah, but they loved it, and a lot of people still use them in Japan.
Really?
Yeah, because you can record your own media onto them as well, and the clarity.
Well, it's really high definition audio, and you can put a lot of information on it. Yeah.
It's it's been an interesting ride, and now we're here at Spotify and YouTube Music and Pandora and all the stuff, and it's different. Good morning, Tony. Get off my digital lawn. Morning.
Morning, Tony.
And also back to vinyl.
Morning, Elaine.
Yeah. I'm slowly building my vinyl collection.
Same.
Yeah, so am I. I always buy vinyl, at least of local bands, just to give them a
that's good.
hand.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
We mostly get vinyl. We get some soundtracks. We get popular stuff that the whole house is into because there's 7 of us, so that's often hard. But Sasha and I love Japanese animation and also video game soundtracks. So we get a lot of those sorts of soundtracks.
Oh, cool.
They're just as background music. It's really it's non-intrusive, and there's a few neurodivergent people in this house, so can't heavy metal just wouldn't cut it here.
That's that's all right. I think it goes with being creative anyway.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So Shane, your love of heavy metal music kicked off at a young age, and what was the first concert that you actually attended?
I think Motley Crue was the first big concert, and that was their Dr. Feelgood tour in 1990. And I grew up in country Victoria, so we had to buy a bus ticket, and they took you to the Rod Laver Arena and back all on the same day and night. And my parents surprisingly let me go because I was probably only 14 or something at the time. Yeah.
And you went on your own?
I had friends, so there was a whole bus of people from my local town that I was from. So
that would have been a bit of an eye opener for a country kid.
Oh, crazy! Yeah, it made me want to be in a band and all that sort of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And you've never performed yourself. You've never pursued that line of.
Yeah, I mean, I took up bass and we just played, friends tin shed on a farm sort of thing. We didn't really ever do anything. Yeah.
Nice.
Few local things, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And aside from your sticking with your love of music and putting aside the photography stuff, what's been the most amazing, intense, crazy heavy metal concert experience that you've ever attended?
There's a few, but probably the biggest one was Pantera. When they first come to Australia in '94, because there was such a build up to it, and I'd never witnessed anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just the atmosphere was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were all young at the time, and I was young, and I had the stamina still to get run around in the pits and all that. So, not anymore, but yeah.
Not carrying all that camera gear anyway.
No chance. No, I'm in the safety of a barrier, so
yeah, true.
With a security
Very
stand.
true.
Yeah.
Now, am I mistaken that you were involved, or you were on? There was a flight that was piloted by one of the performers, one of the guys from Iron Maiden, was it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Were you on that flight?
I was. Yeah, he done quite a few. Yeah. So
can you tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the singer from Iron Maiden decided he wanted to become an airline pilot as well, commercial airline pilot. So what they eventually did was he would fly the band around the world, and they'd take all the gear and that in the plane. But previous to that, I was living in the UK at the time, and what would happen is he'd fly from London to various European concerts Iron Maiden were playing at, and part of the ticket price was you get on a plane of only Iron Maiden fans, and he flies you to the country you're going to see the gig at. And in the case I went, it was Stockholm, Sweden. Wow. And then during the day, you got a tour of the stage and the back of stage area, which Bruce Dickinson, his name is, took us on, and then basically saw the concert that night, and he flew us back the next day.
Oh, that's amazing.
So pretty amazing. Yeah, that was the best £500 I ever spent in my life, I think.
Is that it?
Yeah, this is back in 2006.
I guess.
So it's quite a while. It was a fair bit of cash back then, but
yeah, it still seems like not crazy considering that experience. Even no, yeah. I don't even know what it would be for something like that these days.
Yeah, probably quite a lot. I don't think he flies commercially now because you have to retire at a certain age.
Yeah,
right.
That's the law, so they don't do that anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, that was an experience I'll never forget.
That's very cool.
I can only imagine how expensive it would be to get on a plane with Taylor Swift flying it to one of her gigs. It'd probably be 20 grand or something.
Yeah, it'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, but acts like that, they'll charge you 20 grand for the seats up the front. Like there's such a variance in ticket prices. Like, but I mean, I made in the plane. They start their tour in Australia on Sunday, and the ticket prices vary by about $20. Like they don't.
That's awesome.
They don't have really expensive tickets. They actually have a lottery. If you're in the Iron Maiden fan club, you go into a draw, and you got this thing called First to the Barrier, where I don't know, maybe it's 1,000 tickets, so you get to be right out front.
Yep.
Of the gig.
Awesome.
So instead of charging people stupid money, they do that, which I respect them for that.
Yeah,
because a lot of the bigger bands, it's a lot of the bigger bands that don't really need the money either, so that do that. So
yeah,
that's nice. Fans. Yeah, they're not all striving to become billionaires again. Just jumping to a couple of the comments. Jashani, who joined us last week, a Walkman was the ultimate cool status in early high school. I didn't have one for quite a while. Yeah, I'm the same. I think my parents bought me a knockoff copy at first.
So I think that's interesting with the age demographics, because for me, early high school, it was a Discman.
Yeah.
It was like if you had the Discman and you were on the bus and you had a Discman, like you were the shit. And you would share an earbud with someone else, and then you had a friend, and it was like it was a game changer.
And then they brought out the Discmans that had the skip technology.
Oh, and you could shake it around, nothing happened.
In case you bumped it. Because for the kids watching along at home, a Walkman took a cassette, remember the little plastic box with a tape? And it was like a portable listening device, and you plugged headphones in, and they were tiny little 10mm cans with foam caps. But they were the bee's knees, the shizzle. And then they went to Discman when discs came in, but you couldn't move too quick with them and then some of them came with a little carry strap, because if you bumped them, it would skip the laser would skip across the disc.
I remember buying this padded little bag. I suppose you call it a man bag now, but it was specifically for a Walkman. So when you walk, the padding helped shield it from jumping.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you had to walk funny.
The lengths we went to.
The cool kids actually just jammed the Discman into the pocket of their school pants, and it looked hilarious. But that's what the cool kids did. I remember that. Like there was just this giant sort of disc-shaped bulge in their pocket. That, they just strutted around.
Yelena from Team Lucky Straps has said that Jashani the Walkman CD style was on my Christmas list. I remember when I got that from Santa. That wasn't that long ago, folks, playing along at home. And Tony said you had to have a Walkman to skateboard with because the Discman would skip. Yep.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool times.
Very different world.
So, very different world. So, Shane, talking about your photography journey, when did you pick up your first camera? When do you remember picking up your first camera and going, this is something?
Yeah, probably as a kid, my parents would have had a Polaroid or a 35mm film point and shoot. So just always, and especially a film, you don't know what you're getting back sometimes. So it was always like I wonder what photos I got, because you'd forget. So probably as early as that. I just really like looking at good photographs.
Yep.
Yeah. Not necessarily taken by me, by other people, of course. But
so, Shane, sorry to put this out, but you're of an age where you might remember that some 35mm cameras came with a flash cube.
Yeah, we had that. Yeah.
Do you remember? You wouldn't know about that, Justin. Being
I know.
Any kid that had a birthday party back in the 80s.
Come out.
Yeah,
parents had that thing. Yeah,
beautiful red eyes from it. And did you turn it to get another flash?
Yeah, so it had four flash
flashes?
shots, I think.
Yeah,
and it was a cube. It was 3 centimeters tall, 2 centimeters square, and it went into a special slot on particular 35mm cameras. This was before they made built-in flash units.
The flat ones. The flat.
That's my nan got me one of those. Yeah, the flat. And you put the.
I had one as well. Yeah,
but that wasn't 35mm film, was it? That
must have been the half. What's the half sort of size? It was like a weird sort of shaped.
Yeah,
it came in a cartridge.
Cartridge. That's right.
Yeah, it was too. Back in the days. And then you'd go to Kmart. I remember we would go to Kmart and with my nan, because she kind of tried to get me into photography before, like when I was a kid. And you'd drop it, you'd fill out the envelope at the service desk, and you'd put the cartridge or the film in and seal it up. You'd probably lick the envelope, which you wouldn't dare do these days. And then, and they'd take it away, and then you'd come and get it, a couple of days or a week later, or however long it was. Because they didn't have a photo lab in Kmart. They would send it away and it would come back.
We only had our local chemist, I think. Maybe there was a camera shop. Yeah.
1 hour photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you paid the extra, you could get it in an hour.
You could, yeah. So you started off with a film camera. Did you study film photography or photography in school at all?
Well, funny enough, I didn't really like it because I didn't like the darkroom. I got too frustrated with having crap results. Also, I really liked taking the pictures, but the darkroom I found frustrating. So I didn't really pursue it any more from high school. Yeah. At the time.
When did you then sort of like let that come back into your life then? If you didn't high school didn't pursue it, when did you start?
Well, I still had the point and shoot camera all the way up until I was early 20s. So I actually relocated to the UK in the late 90s. And that's when I thought, okay, I'm not happy with my pictures, and I bought my first SLR. And I actually did like some 2-week course, and that had darkroom, and I was actually better at it this time. And then the penny dropped. I was like, this is cool.
A decade of life experience got you better results in the darkroom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Patience.
Yeah.
What was the SLR?
was it a Canon A3000 or something? I can't even remember now. It's long gone. It was the cheapest one, and it came with the 2 kit lenses. And I remember going into the shop, no idea what to get. It was either get the Nikon or the Canon. I could have gone either way, really. Yeah. So I just decided to choose the Canon. Maybe it was cheaper. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, back then you had to. There was no Google. You had to go by the. You had to go by the advice from the camera store people or mates.
And that depends on how they were feeling.
Yeah.
How much stock they had left in the shop and what they wanted to get rid of, probably.
Yes.
Or what sort of what sort
Kickbacks.
of kickbacks they were getting from the brands.
Yeah, I want to go on that trip that they send you on if you sell the most cameras or something like that.
Yeah, just one more Canon. Just one more Canon.
So that's how it started. Yeah, really.
And so, when you decided to photograph concerts, at what stage was that? Was that when you'd gotten the SLR, or were you shooting them with the point and shoot?
No.
When did
I was on the digital. I was on the digital by then.
Yep.
Yeah, I think maybe 2005. I bought the Canon 350 Rebel.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that. And I also bought a pretty decent
20th anniversary
standard
this year.
zoom. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We're old, mate.
And I ended up buying the Canon standard zoom that was made for the crop sensor and all that. So so I was shooting for a while, and I also had just just all the travel, and then I had young family who was coming, and obviously anyone that has kids, everyone takes up photography when they have kids, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I had a friend that was in a band, and he said, "Oh, do you want to come to our gig and take some photos of us?" Yeah, so it really just started from that.
And was that in the UK?
Yeah. So basically just pubs and small clubs in London. So it was only probably 3 different bands. They were all friends of mine, and I would just photograph their gigs for them, and took a lot of horrible photos and slowly got better. And because back then trying to learn about that stuff was, you pretty much had to buy a book. I think YouTube might have started by then. It might have been in the very early days. 2007 or 8.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
Yeah.
But it was nothing nothing like photography tutorials and lighting and composition guides but I remember you could get like photography for dummies books.
2005 YouTube started. So
there you go.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So I think the concert stuff probably started in 2008, 9, something like that. I think by then the internet, we had forums from different photo sites and that. I used to just get on that and ask more seasoned photographers.
That's right. Forums, chat rooms.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Yeah. Trying to get as much information as I could, because the concert stuff was pretty niche, and you had to sort of apply different mindset to get good pictures there.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so today your primary photography focus is heavy metal concert photography.
Yep.
And tell us about how you kind of escalated from doing mates bands at pubs, local pubs and clubs, up to photographing Pantera, Motley Crue, Iron Maiden these days. How did you, what were the key learnings that helped you get up there? Like if someone wanted to get into heavy metal or even just concert photography in general, what sort of steps did you learn the hard way?
Probably the hard way is probably the only way is just to go to keep going to small clubs and pubs where there's no rules about shooting photography, and shoot as many local bands as you can. And even if the pictures aren't that great, they'll really appreciate the photographs for their social media. Once you've got a decent portfolio, pretty much there's quite a few online publications, and pretty much just present yourself to them. And that's what I did. I think it was 7 years ago, and I got on board with one. And then they basically they're like the middleman between you and the band's management, I guess you could say. And they get all the passes to all the shows you can't normally get to photograph. Nice. Yeah. So I think it's a lot easier these days to get into than it was, 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. And because I would imagine in some cases bands, and maybe this is just a myth that I've learned from Hollywood, but bands will have photographers that they prefer to work with, or they prefer to shoot them, especially behind the scenes stuff. Is that still a thing, or is it?
Yeah, bigger bands will have their own tour photographer or photographers they go to for their portfolio sort of stuff for media.
Yeah.
But it's really most bands that size aren't even thinking about who's photographing them on the day. That's going to be the promoter and the PR management,
Right. Okay.
and that's who, like, if you're shooting for an agency or an online magazine like I do, they're dealing with the promoter basically, or the PR agency. Yeah, the band wouldn't even have any say in it.
Yeah, I'd say is it sort of not dissimilar from, say, a sports photography sporting event. A sports team might have a internal media or photographer or something that works with the team, maybe travels with them, gets those shots you're talking about that are specifically for the team's media. And they probably have more access and a better relationship. And then on the day, there's going to be photographers from various newspapers and publications and shit like that all around, and they're sort of, like, say, the team doesn't even know their names; they're just extra media people, and so there could potentially be similar setup in the music industry.
It's exactly that. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I also shoot for some venues, so that's another way. Yeah. So you can shoot for venues. So I still do shoot for bands direct sometimes. But they're not like the bigger ones. They're more like local bands. Like they'll say, "Oh, can you come shoot our show?"
Yeah,
and it's a nice mix.
You'll get a bit. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Can you make money from photographing bands these days?
You can make money, but I reckon you'd be hard pushed to make a living from it in Australia anyway. I think you pretty much have to be a tour photographer.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to have I mean, I've got a day job that's not photography related still, so it's kind of a good mix to have, to be honest.
Yeah. So you can make some part-time money, but the chance of sort of having a full-time business that's dedicated to concert photography would be slim. You'd either have to supplement it with a day job or with another photography style of business. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I mean, I know music photographers that are wedding photographers as well.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. Okay. So but to be honest, I think it's healthy if you shoot other genres anyway. I think you're only going to learn. It's only going to make you better.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you don't want burnout from just doing it every night.
Which has happened to me. I actually don't shoot quite as much as I used to. Pre-pandemic, I was shooting all the time. But I just haven't. I had 2 months off recently, and then went and shot 3 shows in a row. So that was like, it's like, oh damn, I shouldn't have done that.
Ouch.
I'm getting too old. Yeah, because it's not really. It's all the culling and editing the next day. That's probably where all your time goes. Yeah, more so than the shoot itself.
And so a few years back, you made the wise choice to ditch Canon. Sorry, Justin.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. And you moved to Mirrorless. Can I ask why you made that move to Mirrorless? We'll get to the brand loyalty in a minute.
I was I had little kids. My kids were young at the time, just sort of toddlers, and I kept dropping my big DSLR and big lens. I really need a small camera to, just make all this more enjoyable. So I was starting to get annoyed by it. So I started looking. I think at the time, Canon and Nikon didn't do mirrorless. And I didn't even really know what mirrorless was. I just happened to stumble on Fuji. I think it was either that or an Olympus I was looking at. And I bought this little camera, which is the Fuji XE2. And I bought that, basically just for everyday photography and my family. But I started taking it to shows. I thought, I'll give this a go. And when you can see the exposure live, especially in music photography, I was just sold straight away. I was like, this is awesome. And at the time, I had an older Canon. It was the 5D Mark II, awesome, absolutely awesome camera. But even the little XE2 was, I would say, outperforming it at that particular time.
Yeah, much more modern camera, even though it's a small
newer
like
camera,
a crop sensor and smaller body sort of thing, less professional, so to speak, just much newer and more advanced.
You watch
and
your
I only
voice.
had
You watch it, glasses.
I had this like little
it's coming
pancake lens on it, little f2.8 pancake. They're 27 mil, and I wasn't actually shooting for anyone yet. I was just still shooting for fun at the time. I was like, I think within 6 months I'd sold all my camera gear and got on the Fuji. Cost played a little bit of a factor as well, because I thought, for what bang for your buck, I could get more Fuji stuff than I could Canon at the time.
Yeah, more isn't always better though. Quality, not quantity. Quality.
Really? How many cameras have you got, mate?
Quantity. And quality, actually. Okay.
I mean, if I was getting into
first, sorry, I was just going to say, what was your first Fuji that you thought would be sort of the replacement for your, like, was it the XE2, or did you then buy another body when you sold all your Canon gear? Were you like, all right, I'm going to get this one, and that's going to replace my Canon gear?
Yeah, I did. I shot with both. So I shot with the Canon. I'd have one prime lens on the Canon and one on the Fuji. Did that for 6 months, but trying to do two camera systems, I got really annoyed with it. And even editing, you got different files. And then I got the XT2, Fuji XT2 camera.
Yes.
Yeah, when that come out. Yeah.
Nice.
And ended up buying the standard fast zoom that Fuji do, 16-55 f2.8.
Yeah.
Which is a really fast focuser. So that's
it
a
is.
rule. Yeah. Yeah.
Constant f2.8.
Yep, that's right. I should say that.
Yeah.
I do love shooting with primes though, when I can.
Yeah, I'm a prime shooter too. Shoshani, is the most important piece of equipment actually a set of earplugs?
Oh, yeah, you definitely. I do have a bit of tinnitus, because especially from when I was a kid, playing in bands in tin sheds in the country, definitely damaged my ears. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
And
it does
a
a
lot of shows.
It came back. Like, it went away for me. You know, I had a little bit of hearing damage, and as I stopped playing in the band and wasn't going to as many live shows, it all just kind of faded away.
Okay.
It's really interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's
Good
normal
quality
or not,
earplugs.
Do you have the molded ones, like the custom fitted molded?
I am about to get some made, but I do. Look, I don't use those horrible foam ones. So I use better ones than that. Yeah. But those molded ones are the best.
They are, because they're like, when we're performing, it would cut down the music but still sound closer to what it sounds like. Whereas you put the foam ones in, it sounds very muffled, still get very bass heavy and stuff like that. Whereas this was a much more closer to life.
It actually sounds really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, especially if you shoot, especially photographing these days, someone's just standing in front of the speaker as well on the near the side stage, so you really need it. Yeah.
Even wedding photographers. Wedding photographers, if you're doing the later night stuff with DJs there and bands and stuff like that, and like same thing, you're shooting the dance floor, you're often just sort of standing to the side of the stage right next to a speaker. Get a set of earplugs. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I wish I had done it when I was younger, but damage was done
think
already.
about it.
Yeah, we don't worry about that stuff.
No one did.
No, not at all.
Did you think
Asbestos
about much
after
at all?
breakfast. So Shane, talk to us about when you're at a bigger concert, obviously. You mentioned earlier that there's a barrier between you and the crowd. So how many photographers are working that space? And is it just you guys, or is there security in there as well? Is there other stuff going on? What are you contending with?
Usually us and security. You might have the PR person there, or who knows. But that's generally it. I think I shot Pandemonium earlier this year. As an outdoor festival at Caribbean Gardens. It had Alice Cooper and Blondie. There's like 20 of us there. It was like a bit crazy, a bit too many. So you're contending with, you're trying to be good. Like, you don't sit in the same spot, or stand in the same spot too long. You keep moving around to get different shots. Because also, I don't want to stop another photographer getting getting a chance to get the same shot.
Is there
other than that,
like a 3-song rule or something? Is that a thing, or is that a myth? Is it real?
No.
How does that work?
It's real. Generally, you shoot the first 3 songs, and then they ask you to leave the photo pit. Pretty much a worldwide rule.
And that's always
all photographers leave.
Yes, unless you got a triple A pass. Maybe if you're shooting for the band or whatever, then you can do what you want.
Yeah, but they
just
want. Is it because it's a little bit distracting for them, and they just want to be able to sort of focus on the crowd rather than this sea of photographers in front of the stage? Is that what it's for? Do you know what it's for?
Well, I think that's probably where it came from. But a lot of bands, not all bands care. I mean, some will play up to the camera for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Some totally ignore you. I mean, I try to stay inconspicuous as much as possible. But also,
I was just I've always thought about it, and I've thought if they've got some like epic finale thing towards the end of their show where the drummer spins upside down and gets dunked in a tank of water, like
with sharks,
with sharks with laser beams on their heads, and there's a pentagram behind them that's on fire. You don't get photos of that.
No, that's right.
I
would have their own photographer probably. Yeah, true. They probably got I mean, to be honest, I'd rather the middle 3 songs because the band are really worked up by this time, and there's more sweat and things like that.
Crowds going, but they're not too tired.
No. Well, I think the other reason there's 3 songs, especially for metal concerts, you're going to get the crowd surface coming over the front.
Yes.
And so sometimes we've been asked to leave before 3 songs are up because it's just too chaotic, and security have a job to do to help these people over.
Yeah. You become a liability.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But they're great shots as well, shooting people coming over the barrier. If you can get in the right spot and not be in the way, really cool shot.
Fun.
Yeah. I think I got one a while ago of the guy kissed the security man on the head as he was coming over because he basically saved him from pulling on his head.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up some of your photos, if that's okay with you, Shane.
Yeah,
while you do that, I'm just going to bring up a couple of comments just to fill in some moments. When in reference to quality versus quantity for camera gear, Tony says Castles has both, and he is correct.
Is that how we pronounce your name? Castles, not Castles?
Oh, it's Castles for sure.
Is it?
Castles. Yeah, I'm not fancy.
I still say Castle because I was in the UK for ages.
Guy. It's like dance and dance.
Exactly. It's dance, mate.
It
dance.
is dance.
We dance. Castles. We go dancing.
Little segue.
And my name is Castles.
Yeah.
J.S. Henny. As a motorcyclist, the molded ones are unbeatable. Yes, I agree. Not a motorcyclist, but I agree. Molded ones are worth the investment if you spend a lot of time in high noise environments like concerts or weddings. And from the Homebrew Network, I like peas. That's peas.
In place of earplugs.
Oh, I thought it was just like a, the snozzberries taste like snozzberries, like kind of just a off the wall comment. But okay, peas could work. I think you wouldn't want to put peas in there.
No,
they might.
You might lose them.
Get lost in your brain. I don't recommend peas. No.
Actually, a little side story on that. I had a son. My son. That sounded terrible, Greg. My son has a habit to chew things, and he's a bit absent-minded. And he managed to chew the end off his glasses. We've been through several pairs. And he somehow managed to absentmindedly pop the little plastic bit into his ear canal. And then he didn't tell us about it. And he got a cotton bud thinking, I'll just scoop it out.
Oh,
he actually shoved it further down into his middle ear. And so we had to take him to hospital, and they tried to get it out without sedation, didn't work. They tried it with laughing gas, didn't work. They ended up having to put him under just to get this tiny little piece of plastic out of his ear canal. So just for all of you at home, don't stick peas in your ear, for one. Yeah, don't go sticking things in your ear. There's a life lesson for you from Greg.
I'm a sucker for using like a cotton bud to clean my ear, and I have been told that is a bad idea. A doctor once told me never put anything smaller than your elbow into your ear.
Okay.
And then I was like,
Ooh,
I can't even get my elbow to my ear. Anyway, back to photos.
Let's take a look at some of Shane's work. This is on his Instagram feed. You guys all see that?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, that's Pantera. That was Not Fest
that's
earlier
in
this year.
Melbourne. That's a great shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zach Wilde, famous for Ozzy Osbourne, being Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist, but now playing with Pantera. You can't get a photo of his face because his hair's always in the way.
I always wanted a Gibson Zach Wilde Les Paul with the EMG 81s in it for any of you guitar nerds out there. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Tell me...
That's from Ginger, yeah.
What's your current... So, like, we're looking at some pretty recent stuff, I think. Oh, no, this is 20...
That's pretty old, that one.
It's pretty old. Like, what's your kind of go-to kit currently for bigger concerts? Like, what do you take? What do you use the most?
I always shoot with two bodies. So I've got a Fuji XH2 and XT3 at the moment. Mm-hmm. What lenses I take is pretty much fully decided on what venue we're going to shoot. So if I'm shooting on if it's a big venue with a big stage and it's high, I'm not going to shoot too wide because basically you're only going to be shooting the top of the stage and the foldbacks. So I'll usually take a standard zoom and then a standard tele zoom, all f2.8 of course.
So what focal ranges are those, if you don't mind me asking?
So in APS-C terms, 16 to 55 and 50 to 140.
Mm-hmm.
If for most clubs and smaller venues, I shoot my favorite lenses. I love to shoot ultra wide, so it's an 8 to 16 f2.8, and then I'll have that on one camera, and then I'll shoot a prime on the other, basically. For the shots that are a bit longer.
What would you go to prime be for that?
I have been shooting mostly the 50 f1, which is great for low light. But I recently got a Viltrox 27 f1.2, and I'm finding that focal length suits me better. And I've been using that one. Yeah.
Nice.
I think that'll be the Viltrox that you just had before. Yeah.
What made you choose the XH2 instead of the XH2S? I would have thought that maybe for low light and speed and stuff like that the S would be more suitable for concert photography.
I had I thought about that for ages actually. Because did the S come out before the 2, Greg? Because they didn't come out at the same time, did they?
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
was the 2 first and then the S? No, I don't know.
I'm not sure now, off the top of my head.
They were marketing the 2S for videographers more. And I thought the 40 megapixel probably will come in a bit handy for cropping because sometimes the action's happening pretty fast. You don't have you can't get your crop. You reach exactly how you want it on the night sort of thing, and you find you have to crop in post. So it's always better to shoot a little bit wider so you've got room to crop later on.
Yeah. Very cool.
It depends on the performers, how fast they're moving around.
Yeah. And so how do you find the low light and ISO management of the Fuji kit for concert photography?
Yeah, I mean, we always want a better sensor, but and I'm quite happy with it. I often don't even apply anything under 3200. I don't even apply any noise reduction. I just leave it.
Yeah.
6400, you can notice it a bit, and sometimes I'll put it into like a separate program, like to take the noise out. But I've got a mind blank now. What one I use? I'll just check. It's Topaz. Yeah, Topaz. Yeah, denoise. That's the one I use. Yeah. But you do have to be a bit careful. Sometimes it takes away too much detail from faces.
Yeah, and you lose some of the atmosphere as well.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I mean, some of these concerts, I imagine there's pyrotechnics and there's smoke and there's sweat and
you want all that in it.
On.
Yeah. It's more the smaller gigs, but I mean heavy metal, the lighting in the smaller venues. That sometimes they want the atmosphere and they just want it all red or all blue. But that sort of sucks a bit if you're a photographer, and requires a fair bit of effort in post, because the camera doesn't come close to recording what was happening on the time, like the look of it. You do have to put you're trying to, I guess you could say it's more of a feel. You're trying to recreate the atmosphere in your picture in post-production. And every photographer, you could have 10 shooting the same thing and everyone's going to edit it different.
Yeah. And have different angles and all that
of course, stuff. Yeah. Everyone's got their own flavour, so.
Yeah. And so when you shoot a typical, like a larger gig, how many shots are you taking? Like when you get home and you plug in your SD card, what are you looking at in terms of your workflow?
Most gigs are probably 3 bands, like usually 2 supports and a main act. Geez, if they're moving around a lot, I'll take more photos, and I could have a couple of thousand photos to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to shoot as least as possible, but if you got to shoot enough so you got something to play with, and I'll generally delete 80% of my images after I finish processing as well. Like I don't hang on to them.
Yeah. What software are you using for your workflow?
All Lightroom.
All Lightroom, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Justin? When you shoot a mountain bike day, how many shots are you? Because you're obviously using some burst as well.
Yeah. Depends on the type of thing that we're doing. It wouldn't be unreasonable for sort of. It's hard. A lot of the biggest shoots that I do are hybrid photo and video. So I'm shooting photos and video, and I'd still potentially come home with 3,000 images plus hours and hours of video. I mean, a wedding's probably a better example. It would not be out of the ordinary to shoot 5,000 or 6,000 frames at a wedding. That's on a lower. Like we're not shooting like 15 frames a second or something at a wedding. It would just be way
single
too
shot.
many images.
But you just got to give it a moment, don't you?
Not single shot. I do a lot of bursts because...
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, because we don't do a lot of setups. So trying to get natural reactions while people are talking and laughing and stuff like that, we always were like, hard drive space is cheap, cards are cheap. We don't want to be like,
moments are irreplaceable.
Exactly. Oh, if only we had taken a frame a split second later, they'd all be happy, but one of them looks weird or whatever. We're not sort of precious in the fact that we definitely overshoot. When I say we, I'm talking about me and Jim, and it's mostly now Jim because I don't really shoot weddings anymore. But yeah, while I was doing that a lot, I think if Jim and I both shot a wedding, probably the most images we come home with once was 12,000 between two of us. For a 12-hour day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So
what's your process for culling through that much?
Lightroom. We used to use Fast Raw Viewer, and before that we used Photo Mechanic.
I tried to use Photo Mechanic. I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, it was essential for us when Lightroom was slow. Lightroom used to be slow. If you import now with Lightroom on a good computer with and you have embedded previews on your import, make sure you have that option selected. If anyone's listening, embedded previews when you import, it'll pull the JPEGs because when you shoot on the back of your camera, you might be shooting a raw image. Even if you're only shooting raw, not raw plus JPEG, it still writes a small JPEG file alongside your raw as the preview. And that's why when you change the screen, that's what you see on the back of your screen. That's why picture styles, when you're shooting, even if you're shooting raw, picture styles do actually matter in some small way, in the sense of it's going to reflect what you see on the screen. If you shoot black and white, even if you're shooting raw, you'll see a black and white preview on your back screen. And then when you put it into Lightroom, if you use these embedded previews and stay in the library module, not the develop module, library, you'll see those previews. It'll say embedded preview down the bottom, and it will be fast to flick through because it's just loading that lightweight kind of low-res JPEG file for you to preview and cull. And we can whip through the images in, I don't know, 4 hours or something like that for a wedding. to do a
That's
pass
pretty good.
cull. Yeah.
Oh,
You
first pass. Okay.
First pass, you get fast at it. And then you would probably probably wouldn't do a second pass, but we'll just remove images while we're editing that are unnecessary or whatever. It's faster to remove a few extra images than it is to go back and find a shot. If you like, say, selected one, you're like, oh, actually that one's not quite sharp when I loaded the raw, and then you have to go back and find a replacement for that image or something. It's faster just to include both of them, and then when you're editing, be like, oh, that one's better. Get rid of the other one.
Yeah,
and
I usually do about 4 passes when I'm editing.
Do you?
You just use the star system, basically. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I shoot in low burst, which is good because you can still shoot singularly without changing the setting.
Yes, that's the key. There's a balance there. I can get it at about 9 or 10 frames a second, and up to 12, it starts to get very hard for me to shoot one frame. If I really concentrate, I could maybe get it right. At 15 frames a second on the Canon gear, it's minimum 2 frames if I touch the shutter.
Yeah, okay.
Which obviously basically doubles everything that you're doing if that's not what you want. So yeah, it's like I found that sweet spot of for weddings and stuff like that. 7 to 9 frames a second is like fast enough that if someone throws confetti, you're getting like action and a lot of choices. Yeah. But you can still take single frames.
Yep. That's exactly what I do.
Do you know what your low burst, like what the rate is on those? Or?
It's probably only 4 or 5 frames, but that's more than enough for me. Yep. And then basically I'll just do the first pass, and I'll just pick everything that looks okay, because you don't know if there's going to be a money shot coming down or not. Although often you know you've taken it for a really cool epic shot. You already know it's there. But because you're shooting burst, you know the one either side of the one you thought might be better. So that's why I do about 4 passes. So I get to my 5 stars, and they're the ones I issue to the publication. So from say a 2,000 shot shoot, I'm going to issue 30 or 40 images.
Every time you whittle them down, it's harder and harder and takes more time.
Absolutely.
That's the thing, and that's something that I don't think we maybe as photographers we practice enough. Is like depending on what the goal is, less is more. When we were doing weddings, we would never leave out photos that they might want from the main set of images to just trying to make ourselves look better. We would never do that. We wouldn't be like, oh, let's just leave those out because then the other photos will look more special. But we would always then cut down their whole wedding day to an image set of, because we would deliver probably 500 to 800 images of a wedding day, finished files.
Yep.
But we'd cut that down to like 150 to 250 as they're like, this is like the gallery you would look through with some friends or something like that. Like don't subject them to 800 images. Here's
no one
like
wants to look at them. Yeah.
Exactly. Here's a more sort of selective gallery of the day. That took, it didn't take a long time, but it still takes time because it's a little bit more thought. Oh, is this one better than that one? Oh, should I leave this in or leave it out?
Yeah.
And then culling that down to something that we would post for social media or whatever, an album of 20 or 30 images takes even longer, because then it got to the debate of like which image is worth it, which image is really better. Jim, your images suck, mine's better. And Jim would be like, no, yours suck, mine are better. And then it was so funny. Like we got a lot better working together because it was always a competition. I would shoot more frames and Jim would be like, you just spray and pray and take way too many shots, blah, blah, blah. And then we'd get through and I'd be like, how come 65% of the selects in our sort of featured album are mine? And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then, so it was, it made you a better photographer, and going through those processes of cutting out images and working your way towards what you would call like your 5 stars, makes you a better photographer for sure. Yeah.
You get emotionally attached to your images as well.
Of course
it's hard. I've got my kids in before and said, oh, here's 5 similar ones. You pick the one you think's best. Yeah. And that's usually the correct one.
It's interesting. This isn't that useful for that type of thing, but when you were saying there's like there'll be one either side of a hero image or something like that, or you can't decide between two hero images or something like that. This is another thing that I learned from a wedding photographer. I think Jerry Jonas, I'm pretty sure, said it. And he's like, if you're struggling to pick between two images, just pick one. They're both basically identical.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. He's like, don't go back and forth trying to figure out which one's better. He's like, if you can't decide, they're both basically identical. Just select that one and move on. Like,
often your first choice is the best one as well.
Yeah, true. Go with your gut. I mean, you invested the time to get to the event, venue, shoot, whatever it might be. You know, you're confident enough in your skills to take the shot, then just trust your gut instinct.
Yeah.
I find I've become more ruthless with my editing process. So when I was running on my iMac, I was running not old, but lacy hard drives. And I had to keep buying new ones because I'd run out of space. And I would keep every shot I ever took. Because I was in that mindset of, oh, well, you know, especially my photos from my trips to Japan. You know, my first trip to Japan, I was there I think I was in country for 8 days and I took 7,000 shots, you know, and I kept them all the raw files, all the JPEGs I've got, you know, and backups because I just became very paranoid about losing them. But now that since I've invested in a new MacBook and I've gone with a SanDisk portable SSD as my Lightroom drive, I'm really selective about what I keep, and everything else I just delete it because I figure I'm not going to look at it again. I'm not going to, unless it was for a job, but most of my photos at the moment are either for articles or for fun, you know, for personal projects. And I've just become really ruthless about, but if I do get stuck between which one of two images that are almost identical, then I'll keep one in color or with, you know, whatever color profile I put on it. And the other I'll put in black and white. What's that thing I said last time? Make it black and white, add a little grain, call it art. You know, so
exactly.
I pretty much delete anything under a 4-star, which will be 80% of my shoot. Permanently gone, especially for music.
I was going to say, once you start doing the volume and stuff like that as well, even for paid jobs like weddings that we were paranoid about what to do, we sort of devised we started off just keeping all the raws for quite a while, like everything we shot, and then we devised a sort of a process whereby you know, we'd have timelines. We always end up keeping a full set of raws and JPEGs for everything of what we delivered. But like at trigger marks, we'd be like, all right, now we no longer keep the full set of raws. After 12 months, we delete them. The like the additional shots that we didn't deliver, and things like at just certain times. Just because we wanted to have that, not just delete them the week after, because we have had people say, hey, you know, Auntie so-and-so was there. Something's happened. Any photos, even if they're out of focus, would be appreciated, or something like that. And then we can go back through and stuff. But beyond 12 months, we're like, all right, now because it was just too much data. Like it was an insane amount of data.
Yeah.
So
I've only ever had it once that I had to come back and find a picture. That was, I actually shot a wedding earlier in the year with Ian Tan, actually. And the photo I deleted, one person had their eyes shut. It was like a group shot.
Yeah.
So I just binned it, but then they were asking for it, and I thankfully all I had left was the smart preview from Lightroom. So it's more than enough. It was more than enough for, you know, Instagram and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've got to be a little bit more careful for that side of style.
It's happened to us. Like we've shot a lot of weddings, but it's happened to us a few times, you know, couple, and being able to either check or to deliver something that they didn't get or something like that is well worth it. So I'll have to double check with Jim. I don't know if he's lowered it to 6 months after the files are delivered, but certainly for a while it was 12 months. We would make sure we kept every single shot we took backed up in 3 places for 12 months. And then after that, it started filtering down and down and down to the point where we just had the set of delivered images, backed up in 3 places, and because we have had a lot more people come back to us that have lost their USB. That happens a lot, and like to the point of a wedding I shot 10 years ago.
Oh wow!
And being able to say, "Yep." Well, I don't say "yep" first. I check. Check and make sure that the files are there, that they're not corrupted, that I don't know, like everything's all good, and then to be able to then say to them, "Hey, no problem, I'll have them on a USB for you soon," and they're like, "Fuck yeah!" And then I'm like, cool. Now back these up when you don't just leave them on the USB. Yeah, exactly. I think we did that for the last person. I think we're like, just now put one of these somewhere special, and then use the other one. It's.
I back up to the web full res JPEGs of my final selections, but everything else I've just got a RAID drive at home. So it doesn't stop theft or fire, but if a drive breaks down, then I've got it in the other one. Yeah.
Well, that and the raids can be funny. We got a big raid, and it's done some weird shit over the years. Like we thought we'd lost the whole thing a few times.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, because once they get old, it's an older Synology raid with. Geez, I don't know what we've got in there. 10 discs
lots of moving parts.
That exactly, and everything starts to get older, and the software's a bit older, and it's at that point now where it's like, fuck. I hope just.
Well, that's part of the reason why I went to a portable SSD. I'm going to get another one for backup. That's on my to-do list. But my Lacy drives were old spinning discs, and I've already had one of them fail.
Yeah.
And I just figured, look, they're getting on to 6-7 years old now. I think I'm just going to start fresh with a brand new Lightroom catalog on this. I've still got my iMac. I've still got those drives. I've still got the backup. So if I need to go back and find those old photos, but the chances of me actually wanting to go and find my old Tokyo holiday snaps when I've got them on my blog site, I've got them on cloud, it's very minimal.
That's right.
For those of you listening at home, just a reminder, you're listening to and watching, the Camera Life podcast brought to you by Lucky Camera Straps. If you've had an experience of a hard drive fail, or you finally decided to delete the shots only to have a client or a friend ask for a shot back, or anything around that whole anxiety that storing and keeping data produces, please drop a comment, either now live or if you're watching this at a later stage, and we'll get back to you in a future episode of the Camera Life podcast. So Shane, you're currently working with obviously the best gear for the job, Fujifilm X series. I know people have Ian Tan, who's an alumni of the Camera Life podcast, shoots with X series, but also shoots with a GFX. 100. I think he's running the 100S, I think. Does medium format ever tempt you?
Oh, of course. But I don't think it's suited to event photography. Certainly. I would love to shoot a low light image though on a medium format and just see what editing potential I've got to pull back, missing shadows and, highlights and things like that. That'd be really interesting. So I would love to try it. I think it'd be great for studio and portraiture and things like that.
Yeah.
But
what is that?
Is that the R3, is it?
This would tear up concert photography.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It is epic.
Yeah.
And your bank balance.
And your bank balance. Hey, it's cheaper than a GFX.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know about that.
I think you can get challenge you on that one. I think you can get them on a deal at the moment for like under $7,000.
Oh, a deal doesn't count. Yeah, you can't then change the parameters of your.
Then, if you pair it with this, the 7200 2.8, which I'm pretty sure is smaller and lighter than the Fujifilm equivalent 2.8, that would be.
Looks shorter. Yeah.
It's and I think it's lighter, which is crazy.
Does it? But when you zoom, does it protrude out?
Yeah, but.
So the Fuji one doesn't. It's all internal.
But what's the benefit of that? It's a grower, not a shower.
It's a compact. It's a compact experience. So how old's the R3 now, Justin?
Is it 3 years? 2 or 3 years?
Okay, so retails for roughly 7,500, and for that you get a bonus battery. The GFX, the brand new 100S Mark II, which has a 102 megapixel sensor, Fujifilm Unicorn Magic on board, is 8,700. So it's not that far off.
But it's cheaper.
Yeah, but it's also only.
But I think it's overkill for a lot of things as well. Yeah, I mean, it's designed probably for events.
So's a GFX 100.
Of course.
Mark II.
That's why I wouldn't use it.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, no, a GFX 100 paired with like an XH2S or something like that, or XH2 that's pretty cool.
Good balance.
Cool combo. Although the biggest downside, and obviously there's nothing they can do about it, even though you're still on a Fuji system, you're still running completely different lenses, which is obviously that it is what it is. Right. You know, it's medium format versus crop. But that's probably the only downside of like you could essentially be running Fuji and Sony or Canon and Nikon. Like they're almost two different systems, other than the fact that the interfaces and everything, and I'm assuming, like, how do the colors? The colors the same between GFX and
well, the GFX is running the X Processor 5. So it's using the same brain as an XT5, and the image sensor itself. I mean, they're different sensors, obviously, but it's pretty much the same tech. Like I
was going to say, obviously there'll be differences because it's a different sensor, but it's similar color science.
Yeah,
and stuff
it's
like
pretty
that?
close. I mean, people pixels will always point out the differences in white balance and things
Did you
like
say
that,
people pixels?
Did I say people pixels?
Maybe.
Pixel
so.
peepers.
I'm getting that
peepers,
t-shirt made.
Are you?
No,
Can I have one?
people pixing.
Yeah, and then on the back, brought to you by Lucky Straps, the Camera Life podcast. People are always going to know. People will always pick out. I mean, people will buy have two versions of the same camera and say there's differences. But I think for the most part, the Fuji color science, and Ian would be someone well placed to talk about this, because he often does. I've seen a presentation of his about Fuji color science, and it's
I love it. That's one of the other reasons I love Fuji as well. So the color simulations are amazing.
Yeah. Just before we jump onto that point, JS Harney, which I think we just found out the name is Jason, not an equipment failure, just a Jason failure. I have a hard drive somewhere, hopefully, with everything prior to about 2013 that went missing in a house move, and I'm sure it's here in a box. Jason goes on to say, it's awkward when "do you have those photos of the kids handy" comes up.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
AI you could potentially, whip some out if you need to, and just say, you found them. They're just a bit weird. Actually,
make your kids better looking at.
I'm gonna, I've got to get this this queued up, but at some stage I'm going to show you guys why AI isn't as good as it's cracked up to be. Because when I was making the thumbnail for this particular episode, I had a bit of a laugh. Actually, maybe I'll bring it. I'll get it here
bring it up
before we get into Fuji color science in more depth. This was great. Okay, so we're in Canva, right? And I had to try and make this thumbnail work. And I normally prefer to where am I?
That's a great photo of you, by the way, mate.
That's awesome. Yes.
It's a really great shot.
Thank you. Actually, wedding photographer took that for me.
Nice.
So I'm gonna. So obviously this is Canva, which is not Photoshop or whatever. So I get.
I've never heard of it.
What? Canva? Really?
I've just downloaded it. Yeah, but I haven't used it yet.
In terms of quick graphic design and stuff, it's really good. Being able to make YouTube thumbnails and stuff like that. It's all I use. I don't like using Photoshop. I never learnt it. Why does our son
have
Jason have 7 fingers in this shot? Okay, so I wanted to. So usually I'll remove the background, and you can just do that in Canva with this background remover and stuff like that. All works pretty well.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be really nice if I could just extend this texture through for the background and do the thing. But I'm not, a graphic designer, so I'm not going to do that manually. I was just I'll use one of these new AI tools. And there's this one here called Magic Expand. So I was like, boom, Magic Expand. It's AI. They're all raving about it. I'm pretty sure Photoshop and stuff have that too now, I think, and it just works. So I was like, boom, okay. So I want it to fit the whole page, Magic Expand. Let's go. And this is why AI is not taking anyone's jobs just yet.
Magic Expand should be the shelf name for Viagra.
Takes a little while, so just talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. Magic Expand. So, oh, hang on. Canvas had a meltdown. It actually just says there was an issue on our end. Damn, that's not good. Look, you guys won't be able to see it.
That photo up the top right looks interesting.
Yeah. Well, last time I'm going to do it again. I'm going to see if I can get it to come up big because there's obviously something going wrong with their system.
Oh no, wasn't there a huge? I mean, anything a royal does in the UK, there's a controversy. Wasn't there a controversy over Princess Kate? Was it Kate who edited that photo of her kids, and everyone spotted that it was a little too corrupt and perfect for reality?
I think she shoots Fujifilm as well.
Yeah, and then everyone criticised it of being an AI fake. It was around the time where she had disappeared for a bit because she had cancer. You know, heaven forbid she have some privacy. And she published a photo of her with the kids, or someone.
And they said it was AI.
And they said it was AI because she wasn't. She looked weird, and the kids looked weird.
Yeah. Yeah, here we go. This is what happened when they tried to expand it.
Look at that.
But every time it's like a different person. Watch it. Look at this.
Holy crap.
And then sometimes
looks
it tried to do the wall, but yeah, some of these characters that you hang out with in AI land are...
This one.
Yeah,
this
that
one's
one I
like
don't like.
That's a long lost brother.
I was about to say, that dude looks dodgy.
That could be Jim's brother. With the flanny on.
Yeah. So Magic Expand it didn't quite read my mind. It thought that
That's scary.
That is scary.
That is very scary. It's like a character from a villain movie.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's like you see all the stuff on the internet about how great the tools are and this and that, but then every time I've gone to try them, I'm like, this is useless. But I'm sure it's all progressing along, and if you know how to use the tool, it's glitching out. Yeah. Obviously the neural network or something isn't, something. But
Josh
I thought
I'll
that was
take
fun.
that.
Who's Josh?
Singer for
Queens of the Stone Age.
Queens of the Stone Age. Yeah, I saw them.
Yeah. Homebrew. I think that's Gavin at Homebrew Network. I think one of my friends. Yeah.
There you go. Welcome, Gavin. So we were talking about the wonderful and uncomparable Fuji color science. And Shane, when it comes to your concept photography, obviously you're shooting in RAW, as we all do. Do you shoot with a JPEG backup, or do you just shoot?
No, just the RAW.
Just RAW?
And pretty much classic Chrome as well. My go-to.
My own heart. Yeah, I've always loved that.
Love that sim. It's a good
Justin,
starting point.
For you, classic Chrome is a color simulation. Justin has one of the original Fuji X100s.
Yes,
somewhere.
I do.
So I think it's at Jim's place. Last I saw.
Yeah, it's at Jim's place. But yeah, I do, and I've had various. I've had an X100S as well, and I've done a little bit of shooting with Fujis over the years, and I've been tempted. And if they brought out a new X Pro 4, I would probably buy it and have a play with it. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my Fuji. And other than getting tempted by GFXs every time we have someone on the show that shoots GFX. Thanks, Greg.
So Shane, do you use Fuji's film sims on your? So you just said use classic Chrome. Is that kind of a blanket rule for you? Is that part of your editing workflow that you just drop classic Chrome on your raw files in Lightroom and stick with it?
I have a bunch of presets that I've created over the years. I've got one that's called shit red lighting. And
nice.
That'll be then my starting point. It'll still be classic Chrome in that.
You should sell that preset.
Yeah.
Shit red lighting, $20.
Yeah. Solves all your problems.
Yeah, so I have probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 different presets for different lighting situations in concert photography. And it's never, it's never 100%, but it's always a good starting point.
Yeah.
And I've just made those up from experience, really.
Yeah.
You get sick of doing the same process over and over. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do like creating custom presets. I've created my own for street photography. So I use either classic chrome or classic negative. I've started to get into classic negative a bit more in the Fujifilm space, which is on the XE4 and everything after that. And then I kind of adjust a little depending. And I'm constantly updating my preset. And I've got one that I call Tokyo Chrome. That people in the Fujifilm group will know. I've used that quite extensively, but I constantly update it. Again, it depends on lighting and mostly depends on lighting, because sometimes you'll create a preset for daytime shoots. It's gorgeous. And then you'll drop it on something that's shot in darker settings and all of a sudden everything's blue and you have no idea why that's happened. But presets is a really handy way to, like you said, streamline your workflow, get a quick drop of color on everything that appeals to you and you think suits the setting. And I think classic chrome is a good choice for concept photography.
it's the one I found works the best for me. So
yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Very interesting. And so Justin, what looks or color profiles do Canons have? Like you've just got the R5 Mark II.
Mm-hmm.
Does it come with preloaded profiles?
Yep.
Can you make your own?
You can.
What's your experience there?
You can load your own now on the. It's funny. You've always have kind of been able to load your own, but you can load your own LUTs and stuff now with Canon, which is not something that I've really gotten into. I'm sure influencers will be making them and selling them soon. But basically, it's just your regular, picture styles: landscape, portrait, camera standard, which is like supposed to be very close to, true to life lighting. There's usually a flat profile, which is quite lack of contrast kind of thing. And then there's a monochrome profile. And with Canon, you can tweak them. And I think a lot of people don't. Yeah. So I don't know if I'll be able to show you guys, but I don't think enough people play with that stuff. And I guess because they're not shooting JPEG, but I would challenge anyone to shoot JPEG for a while. Shoot RAW as well, so you got them and you can edit them and all that stuff. I keep getting the comments on my daily videos. If you shoot JPEG, you can do a lot more with the files after. I'm like, yeah, I know.
I mean RAW.
I know. Sorry, RAW, yeah. But getting it right in camera is fun, and it pushes you to improve your photography. And
absolutely,
also, like making a choice. As in, I'm changing to black and white to color. I'm going to shoot this in black and white and stuff like that. I know I can later on with the RAWs do whatever, but maybe you'll be able to see the back of this camera. But basically, this is the control that you get. Those numbers represent settings under that particular profile. And if I punch into that, I can change sharpness, strength, fineness, threshold of sharpness, and then contrast, saturation, and color tone. And I often will increase the contrast a little bit on the black and white preset, things like that. And there's also a clarity setting as well for the JPEGs. So I like to tweak them. I like to get it. I like the back of my camera to look close. And what I love is if I could just use the JPEG is wonderful. I feel like I've accomplished something. That looks good. Looks great. Just the way it is, the way I took the photo. I do enjoy editing as well. And, for weddings, we always made our own presets and we're constantly refining that preset. But we pretty much had one preset we put on a whole day and then tweaked to suit. We wanted our images to match. And then when it comes to sort of more personal stuff, I actually really like the Maston Labs presets for Canon and Nikon and Sony. I don't think they're as popular with Fuji because Fuji have the film style looks built into the cameras. But for Canon and Nikon, if you're sort of into film stuff, I haven't found anything as good as Maston Labs. You'll probably look at it and go, 3 presets cost $100, but that's because they're usually 3 really great. You don't need 100 presets. Don't buy 100 presets off someone unless you unless they're really cheap and you just want to see like a whole heap of different styles and have a play with them. But if you want something that looks great, go to Maston Labs. Have a look around, find a film profile that you like the look of, and then just buy that pack. I've got the Adventure Everyday pack, I think, the one that comes with Ektar, and I use a modified sort of version of that Ektar profile for a lot of my personal stuff, travel photos and things like that. I love it.
I'm going to share a picture on my screen. Where'd it go? This is a shot of the Fujifilm X-T50, which is their latest APS-C CMOS sensor camera. It's basically it's a slightly pared back version of the X-T5, but not by much. But one of the things Fujifilm on every X series camera have added film simulations, which is the kind of looks and I think Leica has looks. Is that right? Yeah, Leica uses
Leica looks. It's called, which is I mean, obviously Leica have great images and amazing image quality, but it does seem like they're kind of following Fuji's lead in terms of the looks, thing with the film sims and stuff like that.
So this is their latest X series camera. It came out only a couple of months ago, earlier this year, and one of the key differences they've made with this camera is they've put a film simulation dial on the top so it's easily accessible. So what it comes with is 8 of their, I think it has 22 film simulations on it in total. And it has the 8 most common or popular that they've chosen. And you can see there that, there's A for Acros, there's a, can't quite read them. Classic Chrome is the little CC, the top left. There's Velvia is the V. And then there's some custom ones. So you can actually either add other existing Fuji created film simulations, or you can play around with your own in-camera. And you can actually create your own in the Fuji X Raw Studio desktop application, which is a raw conversion software, and then download those back onto the camera as custom film settings. So you can actually play around with how your own custom film sim looks on your desktop computer, create the look that you're happy with, and then import that into the camera as a film sim, which I think is really cool. You can also do it in camera. You can create obviously custom settings in camera, but I like the ability to, let me just get rid of that screen. I like the ability to sort of play around with it on a desktop.
Be a good travel camera with that, I reckon.
Yeah.
Be a good travel camera having that option to quickly change film sims. Different situations.
And on the back, when you change it on the back screen, it comes up with a visual graphic of the actual film canister.
I like that.
So as you turn that dial on the screen, it turns and shows the actual film canister. Yeah. It's really cool.
The X Pro 3 had the graphic on the back of the camera. I was a sucker for that. I never bought one, but that was one of the things where I was like, oh, that's lame and cool. I want it. Because I like the idea of the film graphic coming up on the back.
It's really cool. I played with that at the launch of the X Pro 3 in Sydney, and because in old film cameras it used to have a little metal bracket, and you'd tear the end off your film canister box and you'd slide it into that, so you knew what your film was, you knew what your ISO was of the film and what film you were shooting with, and you would just slide that little cardboard bit in the back of the camera, so it was always there. And Fujifilm created a color really low res LCD, but enough, bright enough and sharp enough so you could see the details of the film, sim that you were using. I think it was a really clever little idea, but I don't know. It added a lot of cost to what was already an expensive camera. And I think that was the downfall.
I wonder if they'll keep it if they do a 4.
Oh, yeah.
They might do a top LCD like they've got on the X. XH and the GFX.
Yeah, okay.
That would make more sense. Probably save them some money and start to match in with this style if they're going to put that dial on things. Yeah. I've programmed on the back of the Q3, there's not a lot of buttons. You can't really see that, but anyway, there's only a couple of buttons, but I've taken a button for film styles on the Q3 or whatever, like it looks. I always have that, and I've got the same thing on the Canons. I've got a button dedicated to changing picture style, so you can do it nice and fast. So
you could probably sell that Leica and buy a GFX, couldn't you?
Yeah, easily. And a lens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might. Look, the thing is, though, there is nothing that is this small with that much image quality. There's just nothing. I don't want to own this camera anymore. It's way too expensive, but the quality that comes out of this thing for the size and how light it is to carry around, it's pretty insane.
Question from Jason. Are the Maston Labs presets for the older DSLR models as well, or only the new mirrorless sensors?
Yeah, for sure. I was using them with the Nikon, the D850s and stuff like that. But yeah, they're totally fine. Jump on their website and have a poke around. If you've got, if there's a specific pack you're thinking about getting, ask me. I might already have it. I think I've got 3 of their packs. Yeah, they're not magic or anything like that. But they're the nicest film simulations I've found when it comes to presets. Most preset packs are honestly pretty shit. Yeah.
Well, they look great in the preview, but then they're also taken with high quality cameras by professional photographers who get the right composition. The overall image looks good. They just apply a color simulation that enhances what they've already done.
Yeah. You'll often find that you can have unless you're really looking for that like film style or a heavy color grade, like a blue out of a sci-fi movie or something like that. If you just want like a nice looking preset, set your camera profile to the appropriate thing, like if it landscape, portrait, standard, something like whatever, your camera profile, because if you're not shooting Fuji, you can't select, film simulations as your camera profile. So select the right camera profile, apply a medium or strong contrast curve in the curves in Lightroom, reduce your highlights, increase your shadows, set your black point, increase your saturation to taste, and then from there, if you really want to play with things, get into the HSL like color section and play around with the individual colors. Other than that, like the photos are the photo, and that's going to get you like to 90% of where all of the presets are, unless you're looking for that super heavy affected color grade or something like a specific, like I say, that that sci-fi like blue shadows kind of look that people use sometimes with heavily affected street photography and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe buy a preset, or if you want the film look, buy a preset, but buy it from somewhere reputable.
I mean, Lightroom does have some built-in presets.
Yep. Yeah,
that you can then customize yourself. But I encourage everyone to just, play around, grab a couple of images that you love, that you would like to apply some sort of special look to, create a copy in Lightroom and play around with every feature in that right-hand control panel. See what happens when you play with saturation, vibrance, detail, play around with the curve and see how you can control your highlights and shadows, because
it'll make you a better photographer and editor.
Yeah. It'll teach you what you can actually, how far you can actually push your image. I mean, a lot of people will come at you with, oh, that's just heavily edited. But the editing process in every professional genre of photography is just as important as the taking of the photos and the setup process. It's an end-to-end workflow that pro and enthusiast photographers have to master if they want their stuff to work. So I think there's nothing wrong with enthusiasts playing around with creating their own sims, or even just playing around with the editing tools that are at your disposal. You paid for a subscription, have at it.
Yeah, and learn about it. I think it's important. Like I would say these days, I've got a fairly light-handed editing style. I prefer things to look closer to natural, maybe a little bit more vibrant than natural, but like I'm not trying to color grade images to look completely different. I'm just trying to make them look kind of like what they were, but maybe a bit punchier or something like that.
Yep.
But don't use the excuse of, I just like my images to look unedited. Don't use that as an excuse to not learn how to do it. Like I spent years probably trying to over edit shit, learning about how it all worked to only then look at it and go, I probably shouldn't have been doing all that crap. But at least now I know how to do it so that I can choose not to do it. And I often think the same thing about photographers that say, oh, I'm a natural light photographer. I'm a natural light wedding photographer, which to me says I don't know how to use flash.
How to use a flash,
Exactly. So, because all photographers that use flash are also natural light photographers when they choose not to use flash. There's not many photographers that only use flash.
That's
so
right.
It's like learn the process, learn the editing process, and then you can choose to be less heavy-handed or selective or whatever during your edit. But you at least have to know what you're not doing. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I even use
Jason?
flash occasionally in music. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. When allowed. Yeah.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
You don't want to dazzle the headline. Jason said, thanks. Picked up a D800 and Nikon processing colors is a new thing for me.
D800s are a wonderful camera, like image quality, considering probably how cheap they are now. That'll be epic. I don't know what you came from to Nikon, but maybe it was Micro Four Thirds. But when I shifted from Canon to Nikon, I had a lot of trouble with skin tones and had to rework all of our presets to get skin tones, and greens were really different from Canon to Nikon. I don't know why, but yeah, you'll figure it out. Just have a play around.
Absolutely. Now, just before we jump into the news of the day of the week, one last question for Shane. Shane, your Instagram handle is Crimson Dawn Photo. Where did you get Crimson Dawn from?
I'm a Star Wars nerd. So it's from Star Wars universe.
Yep.
I was like, I don't think I'm enough of a nerd to know what it means. What's it from?
So it's a name of a criminal organization in the Star Wars universe. That's where I stole it from. Yeah.
If you identify as a villain a little bit, are you a bit of a you on the dark side of things?
Probably yes. Yeah. Goes with the music. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard reputation to shake.
What hey, has anything crazy ever happened while you've been shooting a gig? Like anything weird happened on stage in the crowd, other than the security guard getting kissed on the head? What's the craziest thing you've seen happen while you've been shooting?
Nothing out of the ordinary, because most concerts have crowd surfers and moshers and the odd stage diver, but no, nothing really.
Nothing's like.
Well, he's only there for three
weird
songs.
Anyway. If that doesn't
get weird enough.
Yeah, nothing weird. I mean, the worst thing I've probably
fallen off the stage or something, or.
Actually, earlier in the year, I was. There was one girl in the front was pretty drunk, and she had just done a shoey with the bass player of the band, which you might. I don't know if you have to explain that for any international guests.
For international people, a shoey is when you fill your shoe up with alcohol. Usually after you've won a sporting event, you'll fill it up with probably beer, because anything else is a little bit un-Australian. And then you'll drink out of that stinky, sweaty shoe while the crowd cheers for you. And it's called a shoey.
Yeah. Yeah, and she'd stood up on the barrier and was going to fall forward into the crowd, but she fell back. And I had to drop both cameras to catch her, so she didn't hit her head on the stage. Luckily, I had a harness.
You saved her life.
Well, her dad was there and he bought me a beer. He goes, "Oh, thanks so much." So that was pretty good.
More alcohol, because that's not the
problem. Did he buy you a shoey?
No. Well, the shoe was his shoe as well. So there you go.
Oh, fuck.
What a dad.
Who was that? That was a Chats gig. It was, yeah.
So you're
the band, the Chats.
The Chats? No.
Australian band, yeah.
Australian band. So you're using a dual camera harness usually on these shoots? Yeah,
I've gone through a lot of different camera harnesses and straps and things, but it's the hold fast system.
Yep. Yeah.
If you know that. Yeah.
I know the one. Yeah.
Boo.
Nah, they're okay. They make a nice harness. They're a little bit heavy. It makes you kind of feel a little bit like a Clydesdale or something when you put one on. There's a lot of metal bits. We designed a dual harness, but it's never been released.
I
Only
was about to
myself.
ask if you have one, yeah, because I don't really like neck straps. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have one, but I've got one, Jim's got one, and a guy in the US has one, and that's it.
Yep.
And
Okay.
they use a quick release system that goes onto tripod plates, which is way better than the big buckles that you have. They're a lot faster. You can detach and attach quickly. They're really reliable.
Well, I had a boo-boo recently, which I told Greg about, I think.
Yes.
I was at a gig. I'd finished shooting, and I was walking down some stairs, and the little screw that goes into the camera had worked itself loose, and the camera fell off, and I didn't have the little safety thing on.
Nah, yeah.
Of course, I do now. And it bounced down the stairs, but both camera and lens are fine.
Oh, that's good.
Because they're Fujifilm.
Yeah, so I was lucky. Yeah, they're really tough. Yeah.
You can hammer in nails.
Yeah, they are a strong camera. Yeah.
Speaking of Fujifilm, small segue. Adobe. We're jumping into the news, by the way.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Adobe announces we need to get some musical introductions so people can follow along at home. Adobe announces integration of Frame.io. Now, I heard about Frame.io when the Fujifilm X100 Mark VI launched. Let me just bring up the screen for everyone to see. So, I don't know who this guy is. He must be like the head of...
Yeah, I was like, there we go.
That explains everything.
Cat. Yep.
That must be AI for sure.
Yep.
So Adobe's now the integration of their camera hardware and software that will. I'm just reading. Basically, what Frame.io is, it's a camera to cloud service. So it allows you to upload camera images straight from your camera through a connected smart device straight to a cloud service. And Frame.io is the cloud service. And what they offer is the ability for people to collaborate on, let's say I'm at a gig, I'm shooting photos, or Shane, you're at a concert, and your publication wants to access the images immediately and be the first to publish. So you use Frame.io on your Fuji camera once it's integrated, and it will go straight to a Adobe Lightroom service in the cloud, and you have an editor who will instantly edit those photos in Adobe straight from your camera, and then obviously they can publish them, share them, whatever. And so I heard about Frame.io when Fuji launched the X100 Mark VI. So despite being a pocketable, technically a point and shoot X series camera, it was the first Fuji camera to introduce Frame.io. And Fuji, at the time when they launched the camera, they said that they would be pushing the service to all Fujifilm cameras, and I'm pretty sure the GFX 100S Mark II also had it. But this is the Frame.io list of services for camera to cloud connection. At the moment, it's only Fujifilm and Panasonic working with Frame.io. And obviously there's some other like Atmos, Teradek, Red Digital, which is Nikon owned now. Is that right, Justin?
Yep, now it is, yeah.
Yep. So more and more services are signing up to this sort of cloud system where you can have instant access of your files for collaboration for someone to edit or work on or whatever it may be straight out of camera, and Lightroom are getting on board. So they're seeing that there's future in this cloud-based service. And I guess for them teaming up with someone like Frame.io, it means that someone's already done the hard work on establishing an effective cloud media solution, because Lightroom's not that great yet.
Yeah, it's all a bit weird. It seems like it need a lot of like data upload speed to.
It's a lot of data. Yeah.
I can't imagine uploading 2,040 megapixel files.
No,
well, I mean, it's working with the GFX, so.
Oh wow! Okay.
It is there. It is there.
Is it the RAWs that's uploading or a JPEG?
Yeah, it is RAW file compatible. Mm-hmm. So I think because you can already do it with your X series cameras, you can already use the new Fuji X app on your phone, and it will automatically, as you take the shots, it will transfer them to your phone. JPEG files. It will transfer JPEGs to your phone, and then you can upload them to whatever you want. You can set that to do that automatically. But this is more for serious pro workflow kind of stuff. And I guess in a way that what they're doing is they're removing, or maybe not removing, but they're supplementing tethering shoots.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if you're out in the field, let's say you're at the Olympics, and you know Canon dropped the R1 of their kind of Olympics release with the R5 Mark II, and the R1 has still has an Ethernet port, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's, you know, for instant tethering or uploading to a server. What else is making the news this week? Let me just have a look. Samyang. Let me just share my screen again, guys. Sorry. Samyang unveils the world's first ever optical exchange autofocus lens. So this is a crazy little device. So basically, this is the lens here. It's currently for Sony only, and it's only available in Korea, south, not north. So basically, it's a lens. It looks a little like Justin's 28mm pancake that he loves so much. But what happens is don't worry about that guy. There it is on an A7. So it's a full frame lens, but I'm trying to find the picture of it. Sorry, guys. But there are 3 interchangeable inserts. So basically, there's a lens assembly. You pull the lens assembly out, but the focusing system is inside the larger part, which is this big ring here. And there's 3 different focal ranges that you can just drop in.
Right.
So rather than carrying a bag of kind of bigger primes, you keep the prime ring attached to the camera and you just drop in the little lens assemblies.
Interesting.
So at the moment, it's the world's first optical exchange autofocus lens. So it will work with autofocus. They're available in 21mm, 28mm, and 32mm variants. Ooh, and Samyang's reasoning... Sorry, mate?
It's not really a wide enough focal range to bother carrying all 3, but yes.
No, well, I mean, I think they're planning to expand upon it. But they say that they went with these focal ranges because they're similar to point-and-shoot film cameras of the past and some digital cameras of the past. So it's just another way of looking at, you know, we're so used to traditional lens styles. And I think Greg Carrick, another alumni of the show, would love this concept because he's always into crazy, wacky, you know, lens choices and lens that are adaptable with, you know, 3D printed mounts and all sorts of crazy crap. But it's an interesting. It's an interesting.
It is
solution.
interesting. It is an interesting solution. I mean, it would be pretty sweet if they somehow figured out a way to, like, I know this can't work, but you know,
put a 200mm there.
No, well, that would be cool. No, I'm just thinking, you know, so say you have a 2 or even 3 lenses mounted in that lens itself. So you're not actually taking them out and swapping them. You just kind of like rotate them or something. It's like, click, yep, now I'm shooting with a 20mm. Even if it was just 20 and 35. It's like, hey, I'm on the 20, click, I'm on the 35. But
so you mean like a zoom lens?
That's what I was about to say. You think about this little lens, obviously it's going to be lightweight and cheap, which is sweet. But that's a very... If the image quality sucks, which it probably will, just based on the optical design in those pictures, I mean, it's probably fine, but it's not going to be like an epic glass. And then you compare that to like a small light zoom lens that covers a small focal range. Like which one's more useful? And it's cool because the more stuff like that is out of the box, new style lens designs, the better. And the big brands don't seem to be pursuing anything like that. So
no. Well, this is called the Samyang Remaster Slim, and it's selling for $230 US. So is that about $400 here?
Yeah, I guess so.
Probably. Yeah.
Which is pretty cheap for a Sony lens. But it's only available in South Korea at this stage.
Plus one flight to South Korea.
Yeah.
Doesn't the X100 have attachments, Greg? Like to make it wider and longer? Because that's
you can get the wide converter and a tele converter. That still work with the autofocus system of the X100 series. They've had that since the first camera. And at one point, they even might have been the S, the 100S, you could get the option to buy a kit that included the 2 teleconverters.
Does it keep the same f-stop, or do you lose it?
No, you lose a little bit of light.
Yeah, okay.
It says it keeps the same, but you lose a bit of light. But they're basically just magnifier lenses.
Okay.
That you put in front of it. So, you could, there are some filters you can get that kind of do a similar kind of trick of light. But speaking of older lenses with a fresh coat of paint, there's another bit of news I want to share with you. It came up, actually came up last week, but we ran over time talking to Matt. Let me just see. Polar Pro. You guys seeing that? Polar Pro have announced a new series of pinhole lenses named Light Leak. Try saying that 5 times quickly. So these are, there's a 16, a 28, and a 50, which is a much greater focal range.
F11.
But these are basically pinhole cameras. There they are. They're on a Sony. Let me just have a quick look and see what, I can't remember what they're for. I remember shooting with a pinhole camera, I think in art school, we made them.
Yeah. I think, we made them out of a cardboard box, I think.
Yeah, I think we just used a shoebox and blacked it out. And so these basically have a fixed focus of 1 meter to infinity. They're available for Sony, Canon RF, Sony E, Canon RF, Nikon Z, and Fuji X. They are filter compatible, and they have a fixed f11 aperture. So I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun experience. I don't know if it says what they're worth. Might have to look that one up. No. Doesn't say anything about price. Let's see if Polar Pro have got anything on their website.
Okay.
Yeah, 129 US.
Okay, so they're cheap enough to have a play with.
For an experiment.
Yeah.
But I think they're a really cool little idea.
Interesting.
Did you shoot pinhole photography ever, Justin?
No, not really. No. I'm trying to think. There's something I've bought that had a high f-stop like that. Wasn't a Holga lens. Something like that. Something that was essentially not much bigger than a lens cap.
Yeah.
And I bought it, and I was at the point where I was like, when that Holga stuff was coming out, and then this came out, and I sort of thought I'd give it a try, and then I looked at it and I was like, fuck, it looks terrible. The image quality is shit.
Yeah.
And so at that point of my photography career, I was just looking for better and better image quality.
Not going backwards.
Not going backwards, which, is very different to sort of, Greg Carrick's style of like wanting to explore different lens styles and looks and feels.
Yeah, the grittier the better.
Exactly. Not necessarily like I just want it to be an amazing optical quality. But yeah, the point that I tried something like that, I think I had no interest in images just looking worse than they would on a regular lens, Yeah.
Didn't make sense.
So, didn't make sense
Jason's,
to me at the time.
Yeah. Jason said that I've got a feeling that Leica used to produce something along those lines, the Tri-Elmar perhaps. It was 3 primes in 1 lens, manual focus only, of course. So that's not surprising that Leica would make something like that.
I've just searched it. Let's have a little look because it's nice and cheap. I think there's many. I think it looks like they've produced many, but this one that's coming up on the store is a bargain at $10,590. And
we'll get 2 then.
16, 18, 21. So you get 3 Elmars for the price of 1, which I think is a pretty good deal any way you look at it because, 1 Elmar is not enough. And yeah, so it sounds like you can look at it 2 ways. It's like it's a 3 prime lenses in 1, or it's a zoom lens where you can't stop in between 3 different focal lengths. So it's sort of like,
okay.
Like it clicks from 16 to 18 to 21.
So it's almost like a digital tele converter that some cameras have.
I guess
where you can get like you can get a 23, a 35, and a 50 mil crop.
Yeah. Yep. Like the Leica. Yeah.
The Leica.
Like the Q3.
What would the Leica zoom lens cost though of a similar focal range?
So if this is an M, I don't know if they do a lot of M zooms. Usually, their hang on, what do we got? So try Elma, and then it's mostly, maybe there are no zooms for the M system. That might be why.
Okay.
Whereas
right.
if you go, which the M systems like their M11 stuff like that, if you go to the SLs and go to an SL zoom lens,
which you could adapt for your M mount.
Can you?
I think so.
I know you can go M to SL. You can put your M lenses on an SL. I don't know if you can put
go
SL
backwards
lenses
with
on
an adapter.
Interesting. I'll have to do some Googling. Not that I'm buying any of this stuff, because holy shite.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out whether these APO Summicron lenses that everyone raves about are like.
Oh, Jason said M zooms don't work on rangefinders.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. You want to come on the show?
Yeah, please.
These APO lenses, everyone raves about them, but I don't know what the voodoo magic is. I'd really like to have someone explain it to me and maybe test them out, because they're super expensive and heavy and slow generally. You know, I think there's a zoom that they do. Where is it? Like a 24-90 or something like that. Can't see it. Oh yeah, this one, 24-90, 2.8 to f4. It's 10 grand. You know, if Canon brought that out, it would be like, okay, it's a glorified kit lens for an L series kit lens that's going to be under 2 grand. Like, no one wants it to go from 2.8 to f4 variable aperture. Like, where's the magic? I need to know. Tell me, Leica. Anyway,
it's all in that little red dot. One last little thing that I would like to share. Speaking of obscure lenses, I've been onto this for quite a while, and I really want to get one day. But here we are. This is the Fuji XM-FL. Now, this came out back in 2015 in Japan only, and I remember on my first trip to Tokyo, which was in 2015, I saw one in a Yodobashi camera store. Kicked myself still for not buying it. Can you guys see that? Hang on, now I've got to change the screen. Sorry, guys. Let me go to this one. Here's that petapixel. Oh, it's not letting me share my screen now.
Do you want me to pull something up?
Hang on. Let me just go stop sharing that one. No, something's wrong with StreamYard. Anyway, there's a Fujifilm lens cap. Body cap. So you know how every camera has a body cap? This one's a little bit thicker. And if I can share it, which it's not letting me. No. Everything's frozen. Anyway. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah. Okay, I'm still here. Something's gone wrong.
Tell us about.
You have to tell us about it. Yeah,
I will, and we'll post a link in the comments a bit later. But it's the Fujifilm XM-FL, and it's a camera body cap. So you replace this body crap, and it's cap. It's a bit like it's a pancake lens. It's a 28mm f8. Sorry, 24mm f8 APS-C, and it has a dial on the side of it, like a twisty dial, that applies, I think, 3 different filters to the actual lens. So you've got your lens and you're spinning this dial on the side, and inside it's rotating 3D.
Oh, now we've lost him.
We've lost him.
Yeah, okay. Greg's gone. Sorry, guys. Okay, so there was a body cap and you turned the dial and something happened, and Greg wants one. So we'll have to go back to Japan and see if we can find one for him. But Shane, tell me, list out some of the biggest bands that you've shot with, because I was like, I heard Greg say a few of the names, but like hit me again.
Sorry,
give me the hits. Sorry, Greg, we're just going through the biggest band Shane's ever
having
shot.
A segue. So probably biggest for me bucket list, probably Pantera and Slayer with my 2 big hits. I have applied for Iron Maiden, which is starting their tour this week, Sunday. I don't have my hopes up for that.
Okay.
Because the promoter they use will probably have their own people that they use all the time. But we'll see what happens. I can hope, but that would be my number one shoot if I can get it.
Really?
Yeah, I did manage to shoot them in London from the crowd because I snuck my XT2 and a 56mm prime in and got really close. The security saw it and thought, oh, that's just a little play camera, not a professional one, which is really good. And I got some really good shots from that, so I can be happy with that.
Yeah, nice.
Sorry I dropped out, everyone. I had a bit of a technical glitch.
Yeah, you just cut you off it. Yeah, well, it's good that you're back.
Oh, thanks, mate.
We said we just have to go to Japan to find this body cap lens, so I thought we'll just have to fly over there and we'll just search one.
Yeah. Nev Clark, who joined us a couple of weeks ago, he said, I want one. I've seen one and it's pretty cool. But I was with my partner at the time, and if I'd purchased another lens, things could have got murky. Fair point, Nev. Good to hear from you, mate. Yeah, it's just a weird little lens, but it was really expensive at the time.
Oh.
Like it was, $400 or something Australian at the time. And and I remember when I started working with Fujifilm Australia, I said, hey, any chance you can get me one of those lenses, those camera cap lenses? And then they were forbidden from getting them into the country. Like it was a Japan only thing.
Oh, okay.
Like they weren't allowed to even get them in.
So weird.
Oh, wow.
Weird that they would do
you can get them on eBay, but they're rare and they're pricey.
Yeah.
Just to finish off my new segment.
One day.
One day we'll find one. We'll find one in a secondhand camera store in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Well, I think that pretty much... Oh, hang on. We've just got one more comment from Jason. That lens sounds a bit like some of the Lens Baby. Yeah.
Bit
That's
like the Lens
what
Baby
it
one. Was.
There's
Lens
adjustable
Baby.
bokeh levels, flare. Yeah, it's very similar to that.
You know the other lens that I got tempted on, then I'm glad I never bought, because I'm sure they were just one of those things that sits around in people's bags and look cool on social media. But those Petsful lenses that were like all brass, and you remember those?
Yeah. Yep.
On like Kickstarter or something, and they'd have drop-in, like some of them had different aperture, like drop-in apertures that had different shapes and stuff like that. They had like swirly bokeh and they're manual focus, and they were like $800 or something. And they were cool for a little while, and then I think everyone realised they were just a pain in the ass to shoot with, and you'd be better off with the nifty 50 1.8 or something.
Very true.
Fair enough.
Very true. Weird lenses.
Yep. Bring them on.
Yeah. Why not?
It's Greg Carrick's favourite subject.
But he's actually weird lenses. He would
shoot through that if he had the chance.
Exactly. He'd just be trying to. He'd get that that changeable optical lens thing and just wedge random crap in that hole and see what works. Bit of cellophane or something, and
yeah. Very true. Well, look, that pretty much brings us to the end of today's show. But before we wrap up, I just want to say a huge thank you to our guest today, Shane Henderson at Crimson Dawn Photo. So good to hear from you. So good to hear your journey and your story, and how your passion for music and your discovery of photography, combined to make you who you are today as a visual creative. It's a wonderfully inspirational story, and I really appreciate you sharing it with us.
No problem.
So
aside
from your Instagram at Crimson Dawn Photo, it's up there on the screen for anyone wanting to check out Shane's work. Is there anywhere else we can see your work?
I have a Facebook account, but Instagram's where it's all at for me. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Very cool.
It's pretty much all I post to.
Very, very good. Now,
we'll keep an eye on it to see if you get your dream gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I don't hear anything in the next few days, it's probably not going to happen, but doesn't matter. I'll be going to the concerts anyway. Yeah.
Nice. Maybe you can sneak in a camera again.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Shane, week ahead or the weekend ahead, what photography work have you got on or experiences?
I've got nothing planned the next couple of weeks because this week we're having a family holiday for a week. So we're actually driving to Radelaide and taking the whole family to see Iron Maiden there on Wednesday.
Nice.
And then I'm going to drive back in Melbourne. So Friday and Saturday next week I'll be seeing Iron Maiden as well. So 3 shows for me. Bit of a fan.
Love it.
Yeah.
Dedication. Yeah.
And just on a side note, Justin, I think we need to get some Camera Life X Lucky Straps flannelette shirts made up.
It does seem to be a common
it does
theme
seem to
on
be
the
a
show.
theme, you know.
Yeah. And
just
my
for your
fake
I
beard.
don't. Yeah, and we'll get you a beard. Yeah, for sure. I could give you half of mine, and it'd still be good.
Think of it.
Shane, our Jim, who's currently on holiday, he's probably still locked in his tent with that snake outside.
Oh yeah.
Did you see
I told
that?
him
Yeah.
I'd send him. I told him I'd
saw
send him
that.
a link to get on the show, but whoops, he's probably like. No, he hasn't messaged me. That's all right.
He's probably still in that tent.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
He's a lover of flannelette shirts. He's got a very impressive collection, I must say.
I think I've been
so-
wearing them since I was a kid.
Yeah,
I'll just wear better ones, better quality ones now. That's the only difference.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a sign of maturity. Better quality
Yeah.
flannelette shirts. Justin, what have you got on this week? How many days have you got left on the daily challenge?
Daily challenge. So yesterday was, hang on, what was yesterday? Day 24, 25, 24. I'm losing track of stuff. Today's day 25. So 5 or so, you look funny without the beard. Yeah, the two wise men. Exactly.
Absolutely.
They're at the ZZ top of the screen. That's a bad music joke, isn't it? Hang on, I've
Jim's
got that.
not
Where is that?
Yeah.
See, I haven't used any of the sound effects this episode.
No, you haven't. You really haven't.
So 5 days to go on the challenge. I will then keep doing these videos, but not at one a day because it's really getting a little bit tricky. So I'll scale the pace back a bit. But it's been fun. So I'll make sure I keep plugging along. I'm going to do some more testing with the R5 Mark II. I might do a high ISO test today, I think, and see how it goes. Compare it to the R3.
So do you feel like you're getting
'cause the
burnt
R3 is
out?
thinking-
Because when I called you last night and we had a quick chat, you sounded grumpy and tired.
I wasn't
and
grumpy.
cranky.
Well, I was just like, what time was that? That was
Oh, no, about 6 or 7.
6 or 7. I'd just been on a call, like a 1 hour, like a mastermind call with other business owners. That's every 2 weeks. Prior to that, I shot yesterday's video, and then after the call, I had to edit yesterday's video, and yesterday was also a busy day of catching up on work and stuff. So it was just like, there's a lot going on yesterday, and I don't normally like to be so busy. I like to have a lot of space and time. So
Same.
useless. Jason, ironic, useless fact, ZZ Top drummer was Mike Beard, who didn't have a beard. That's funny.
It is funny.
All the other band members did. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. We're plugging along with the videos, and I will keep doing them. But I wouldn't say burnout, but it does get tough doing one a day, especially once it gets later in the day, and you know that like that thing still. I can't just put it off till tomorrow because I made a commitment to do it. It's done when it's done. That's the
It's not
only
that
thing
free.
that keeps.
So the 360 project people do, one photo a day. I don't.
It's just my own challenge. It's not the photos that are hard. I wanted to challenge myself to shooting more for like personal photography that, you know, not necessarily when there's a job or a subject or whatever, just like I have to take photos every day. That's one thing, but I'm also filming all of the
That's where your time is.
behind the scenes stuff. The time is filming and editing the stuff. So it's not the photos that are taking up the time, it's the editing. But like, I'll bring this up. Where are we? Go to channel. View your channel. I don't really know how to use anything. This is going to show that we're live, which is kind of fun. We could watching ourselves. So, where are we? 30-day challenge. Go to videos. So this video went up last night. It's already got 1.6 thousand views, which is crazy. Because it's just Yelena and I strolling around testing out the eye autofocus on the new Canon. But yeah, it's like, whoop, sorry, my bad. I'll turn the sound off. But yeah, basically it's just like point of view footage like this. But then I put the images in for some of the shots, which takes a bit of time. So it's just, it's like cutting out the crap so that people don't have to sit through the in-between parts, and also inserting photos with the metadata and stuff like that every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was mainly sort of was more of a camera test video, but I still got some cool shots of Elena.
Very cool.
It's just, so yeah, been doing that and it's fun. I wouldn't say burnout, but one a day is certainly a challenge. And it would be better to go to 2 to 3 a week, I think would be doable.
Nice. Well, we look forward to seeing more of that.
Yeah, thanks.
So if you are watching along, or you aren't subscribed to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe, tickle the bell button so you get notifications of when Justin's posting content or we're about to go live with the show. You're about to say something, Justin?
490 subscribers, Greg.
Oh, nice. We're growing.
490. We're going to hit 500 soon. Before next week's show, we will hit 500.
Very cool.
Celebrate.
We'll
maybe we'll do
a
a giveaway on next week's show.
Oh.
If we
We're
hit
gonna hold you to
500
that.
subscribers. Yeah, we'll do it.
We're going to hold you to that. I have been getting out and shooting again. So I've been in a bit of a funk. For anyone that's watched past episodes or knows me on socials, I've been in a bit of a photography funk. Still fine taking photos for work projects, for articles I'm writing, whatever it may be. But I think, Justin, I'm going to credit you with the inspiration for this, is that I decided to get out and shoot on the streets of Melbourne with a lens that I don't normally use. So typically I'll shoot street photography with a 23mm f2 or the teeny tiny 27 f2.8 cracker of a lens. But I decided to go out with a 50mm on my XE4, which is here. And I'm shooting
that closer to an 85? Is that like full frame equivalent?
75.
It's like more like an 80. 75, righto. Yeah.
75, yeah. So it's a compact little kit, and I've got my lucky strap on there. So I've been shooting Acros film simulation. I still shoot the raw files, but I'm doing it all in black and white. I'm shooting with a 50mm, and I'm shooting only at f2. Because traditionally with my street work, I'll shoot wider, and I'll shoot with around an f8 aperture, so everything's in focus. But this is really challenging me to set up a frame and a composition and then wait for my subject to either move into it and rely on the camera to grab focus. So I'm getting background blur, and I'm getting sharp subjects sometimes. I'm getting nice soft backgrounds in black and white composition. So it's really challenging my usual style of approaching street photography. And I've been into the city a couple of times in the last sort of week and a bit. And I'm really enjoying the process. And it's making me look for the composition and look for some of the usual elements I strive for in my street photography. So I look for light traps, people emerging out of shadow, and all of that sort of stuff, but really relying on my skill to find a sharp focus point for the composition. And doing so in black and white, it removes the distraction of what someone's, the coloring and what they're wearing and things like that, because you're just going for tonal values. So it's been really fun. And yes, you have inspired me from watching your daily videos to really get out and, have a crack. I'm loving
it. Yeah, it's funny though, because it was the walk we went around Bendigo when you came up that inspired me to start doing the daily videos. So it's like, it's like the chicken or the egg. Oh, well, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. I've still got to do shots for work. I'm writing an article at the moment for the Lucky Straps blog about what gear you need to pack on your photography adventures. So I've got to take some gear shots, but it's been nice to get out.
Awesome.
Make the most of it.
Very cool.
Cool.
Nev Clark's keen to see your images, Greg. He has no idea how to do street photography, so any ideas are good for him.
Yeah. I think, next time Justin Justin needs to come to Melbourne, and we'll go on a walk and he can film it.
Yeah.
And we'll do a few tricks there. But that does bring us to the end of today's the Camera Life podcast. Once again, thanks, Shane. Everyone, please go check out Shane's work. And good luck with the, you said it was the Iron Maiden tickets.
Yep.
It's a slim hope, but it's a hope.
But the photography
Anyway,
would be wonderful.
yeah.
Would be the icing on the cake for you.
I believe it's going to happen.
I hope so. Me and 1,000 other photographers.
Yeah, exactly.
In Australia.
Got to be in it to win it. Mark Cromie would
That's
say.
right.
Yep.
But thanks to everyone who's watched along. Thanks to our audience for commenting. It's never too late to add a comment. If you're watching this later, or you come up with an idea that you want us to even talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments. And we look forward to catching up with you next Thursday. I believe we have someone who works for Fujifilm Australia joining us. What a surprise!
I can't wait for that one. I'm coming in hot. I hope they're prepared. I hope they know this isn't like a puff piece.
No. This is nothing but hardcore media.
That's right.
But look, have a great week, everybody. Get out and shoot, even if it's with your iPhone. We really don't care. Just get out and take photos, document your experiences, and don't forget to play around with presets in Lightroom. It's fun to be had. Yeah. All right. Well, from all of us here at the Camera Life podcast, on behalf of us, and thanks to Lucky Straps for supporting the channel, have a great day.
All right. Catches. See you
Any music to go out on?
Bye, Shane.
Any music? Any music to go out on?
There we go. Bye, Nev.